Hey guys, hope you had a good rodeo break. We're going to start this week with a basically a review of what we've been doing for almost the last 2 weeks. And the key is just understanding what pieces of information are being given to you and how do we use them. We've been writing equations now for the last 2 weeks, and we're going to finish that unit this week with a test on Friday. Remember from last week, typically when you have your final answer is going to be in y equals mx plus b form. Now, sometimes you'll be given everything you need to fill in the m and the b, and then sometimes you've got to use the clues, and we've got to get started writing our own equation. Well, if you don't have your notes out or you haven't remembered everything that's on those notes, get those out because we're going to go back to the idea of how do we get started. This is going to be a pretty quick lesson here because it is actually review. We've done everything that's in this lesson already. We're just going to revisit it. So we're going to go over here. We're going to share the doc cam. And on the doc cam over here, I want you guys to notice at the top, we remind ourselves, how do we get started writing our own equation? Well, remember, to get started, we're going to use our point-slope form. Well, point-slope form means the clues that we need are a point and a slope. Well, last week we were given the point and the slope, and we were simply able to plug in for m and plug in for the x1, y1. Well, if we're not given the slope, we're going to have to find it, and that's what we're coming back to this week. We have to find the slope because it's not being given to us. So this is where we're going to use the slope formula of y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. And once I know what that is, I can then take that answer and I can plug that in right there because that's the slope. And then the x1 and the y1 are going to be the point. So again, we're just revisiting things that we've done. So if I look here, the two clues that are given to me is an x1 and a y1. That's the x and y value from the first point. And an x2 and a y2. That's the x and y value from the second point. We have to find the slope. Last week it was given to you. This week we have to find it. So we're going to use the slope formula, y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. And we're going to plug that in. And again, if you want to use the boxes to plug in, you can. If you don't want to use them and you just want to put the numbers there, that's up to you. Y2 is that first box on top, and that's 0. And then y1 we labeled as 10. x2 is 1. And x1 was 2. Remember, the most important step is making sure you plug everything into the boxes correctly. So again, y2 was 0. y1 was 10. x2 was 1. x1 was 2. So we're just labeling the points and then plugging in. And this gives me a negative 10 over negative 1. So the slope is 10. Now that's the first step. The first step is finding the slope. The second step now is to take this slope and plug it in for the letter m. And then your x1 and your y1 comes from the point. So again, we're going back to before. So this is going to become y minus y1, so that's y minus 10, equals m. And we just found that m was also 10. Just a coincidence on this problem. And then it's x minus x1. So that's going to be x minus, and over here, my x1 is 2. So you find the slope, and then we take the slope and we plug it in, and we plug in the point. And now we're going back to just getting our y alone. So let's distribute. So it's y minus 10 equals 10x minus 20. Again, 10 times x is 10x. 10 times negative 2 is 20. Get y alone, so I'll undo the minus 10 with a plus 10. Those cancel out, and I'm left with 10x, and a negative 20 and a positive 10 makes negative 10. The fact that there were lots of 10s in this problem is simply a coincidence. So what did we do? We did two things. The first thing is we went back to our slope formula, and we found the slope. using these points. And then we plug that slope and the point into point slope. This would be your answer in slope intercept form. So it's a two-step process. It's find the slope, and then it's plug into point slope to finish. All right. Let's look at another example here. Let's zoom out this camera a little bit so we can see everything a little bit better. So again, we're going to label our points, x1, y1, x2, y2. Slope formula is y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. Let's plug in. So think about what y2 is. Look at the labeling if you need to. y2 is right here. That's 4. Minus y1, which is 10. And then x2 is 1. And x1 is 4. 4 minus 10 is a negative 6. 1 minus 4 is a negative 3. Remember that two negatives in a fraction make a positive, and 6 over 3 reduces down to 2. So I found my slope. I found my m is 2. We're going to plug that into point slope for m. And then we already have our x1 and our y1. So we're going to plug in. It's going to be y minus y1, which is 10, equals m. And we found our m is 2. X minus x1. And the x1 is labeled right here as 4. So I now got started writing my own equation. I now need to get y alone. So let's distribute the 2. And that gives me 2x minus 8. Bring down the equals, bring down the y minus 10. Let's get x alone by adding 10. So those cancel out. And y equals 2x. A negative 8 and a positive 10 leaves me with positive 2. And that would be your answer in slope-intercept form. So again, same process. Find the slope, plug the slope and the point in. All right. I'm going to go ahead and move up here. I want you guys to try one on your own. I'm going to leave both examples up there so you can see what we did. So we found the slope first, and then we plugged in. So pause this video here and take a moment and then find the slope first for these 2 points. And I'll label them for you before we pause, x1, y1, and x2, y2. So remember, find the slope, then plug that slope and the point into the equation. Take a moment, pause it here, and find your equation in slope-intercept. So remember, y equals mx plus b for the final answer. All right, let's see how we did here. First step is find the slope. So on the top, it's going to be y2 minus y1. So that's going to become 6 minus 0. And on the bottom, it's 2 minus 1. 6 minus 0 is 6. 2 minus 1 is 1. And if it's 6 over 1, that means my slope is 6. Most important part, you have to find the slope correctly. If the slope's not correct, everything else after is wrong. And we're now going to plug this in for m. And I have my x1 and my y1 here. So this is going to become y minus 0 equals 6, x minus 1. Distribute. So that's 6x minus 6. And remember, I'll add the 0, but that's really not necessary. And so y equals 6x minus 6 for that answer. So this IXL section is going to give you 2 ordered pairs, and you're simply going to plug those in and find the slope each time, and then plug that slope and a point into point slope so you can get started, and then work it to slope intercept for that final answer. All right. Your IXL section for this is going to be Y11. Y11 is just going to give you 2 points, and then it's just going to want you to write your answer in slope intercept. And again, you want a SMART score of 80 for full credit. Anything beyond that is extra credit. This is mostly review, but it's just looking at pieces of information a little bit different. Later this week, we're going to do a practice test. And then after the practice test on Friday, we're going to have a test on writing equations given various clues. And we'll have 3 different sections of what those are going to look like. All right. You guys have a great day, and best of luck on Y11 IXL.